Alright, so here's a video. I'm going to walk you through a couple of the application things real quick, and then I'm going to spend a little more time on 12.1 just because it's a little different than the app or than the on your own problems, work together problems. So first of all, 12.1 here is a time card scenario where people clocked in, clocked out, when round them to the nearest minute, and we'll figure out how much they made. And we'll come back to that here in a second. 12.2, we've seen this before. We're figuring out how much people owe in taxes. 12.3 is a red-green problem. 12.4 is an earnings record. And so unlike the first one, this is towards the end of the month. And so you'll need to fill out the header, although usually that's filled at the beginning of the month or at the beginning of the quarter. You will fill this down real quick. Careful if you just do like an equal sum kind of thing right here. So don't do that. There's actually a column there that's real skinny there. So if you try to like equal this plus this and then try to fill it down, it won't quite work. So just keep that in mind. And then at 12.5, you're going to write some payroll checks. So let's go back to 12.1. So we have employee number 1 here, and here's a traditional like paper time card that they've filled out. So some places still use paper time cards. Most people have switched to electronic time cards. So if you see like the pairs or anyone like that clicking on those iPads when they first come into the school, that's the school's electronic time card. So and that'll automatically do all this math for you, and it'll pay them down to the nearest minute. But this is kind of the old school method where you do it by hand. And so what we need to do is we figure out how many regular time and overtime hours they worked. So on here, we'll have to do a little bit of rounding. So if we're going to round to the nearest 15. So I'm going to write down here. So nearest 15 minutes. And so if it's within we're just going to go to the nearest one. So if it's closer to, like if we look here at 7:59, is it closer to 8 o'clock or is it closer to 7:45? Well, it's closer to 8 o'clock. So if we go from 8 to 12:01, 1 is closer to noon, so they worked 4 hours in that shift. And then in the afternoon, they came back. They came 4 minutes early, but if we round to the nearest 15, that'd be 1 o'clock. And then at 5:01, we would round to 5 o'clock. So they worked 4 hours here and 4 hours there. So they worked 8 hours of regular time, no overtime. Next day, we look at it and we go 3 hours early, or three minutes early and 2 minutes late. So we still round those. That's 4 minutes. They came back 3 minutes early and left 2 minutes late, and that's still going to be 4 hours. So they worked 8 hours. And we'll go through from there. So like, don't let overtime throw you off. If we go 7:56, it's still to noon. That's 4 hours. And we'll round to 1, we'll round to 5. They worked 8 hours. But now we have overtime, and you see here they worked from 7:01 to 8:02. And so they worked 1 hour of overtime that evening. And so we'll go through there, and so you'll see there's 2 weeks for each employee. So if you remember, 40 hours should be the normal time. So if they worked full time, they should be at 40. And then down here, they should be at 40 plus some overtime hours. And if you see here, you're going to add up your regular hours. You add up overtime. Now to figure out how much money they made in overtime. Remember, it is 1.5 times the normal rate. There you go. So it's 1.5 times the normal rate, which there's the normal rate. And you have to figure out how much money they get. So this looks a lot like 12.1 when you're doing this part over here, but it's a little more confusing over here because you're going to have to do a little rounding, and you're going to round to the nearest 15 minutes. And so you'll do it for employee number 14, employee number 11, and employee number 16 down here. So you have to do it for 3 employees, but don't let this trip you up. Just know that you have to round to the nearest 15 minutes, and you'll be just fine.